Hi, and grand rising to anybody out there listening. It has been a pleasure as Lindsey Scharmyn to be here with Noble today on CFR Network, and especially a big shout out to all the audience people out there who are connected to us in heart. Thank you so much.
CFR Network, CFR News. Good day, good night, all. Shalom, balance, niha, wassalam, all of the universal greetings. Trust everybody is well. We are rapidly approaching the end of the Gregorian year of 2022. So be diligent, everybody. Be happy, be merry. It is the season, apparently, quote unquote. I have some feminine energy with me today, as you can see, all the way across the pond. I have the one and only Lindsey Scharmyn. How are we, young lady?
Very good. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. You are a very interesting and thought-provoking character with a myriad of different capabilities. So I thought it would be an excellent opportunity to have this conversation. Please do elaborate a little bit more in regards to your personage. Who are you?
It's so hard to answer this question. Sometimes people even ask me, like, what do you do? And that's really hard for me to answer as well, because I do a million things. A million things. I feel like I feel very focused and present all the time, but it is hard to explain to other people. So
Yes.
I'll say that I have a show. And so I have a show called Rogue Ways. It's a live show. It's a video show. I sometimes interview people. I sometimes go over kind of recent events and help people see how we are winning as a human race, even though it seems very dark in this dark age we're in. And then I sometimes do some spiritual stuff as well, because I'm also a spiritual healer and guide. And so I have another kind of sub show under Rogueways called Middle Path, where I focus on teaching and bringing spiritual aspects to light, especially aiming to cut through some of what I feel like is the new age loss of focus and and presence that kind of just gets, there's nothing really wrong with it, but I don't think it's always that helpful for people. I think a lot of people are far away from some of what the new age presents as, fact and the right and the best path. And so I try to make it a little bit more practical and down to earth for people. And I call that middle path for that reason. We're finding the middle path between extremes, right? Just as in the Buddhist precept. So I have that show as well. And the spiritual healing and spiritual guiding and teaching that I do one-on-one with people. I do some group work with people and classes with people. I do some shamanic healing. That's part of my tradition. I do some channeling through of people's guides and allies. They're higher level beings that are coming to interact with them. I also channel writing. And so I have my own guides and allies that I channel through their messages for everybody. I have that on my Substack, rogueways.substack.com. I also keep it in my rogue.locals.com group, which is kind of like Facebook, but you pay a little bit to get some of the content. So it's also there. And these are the ways that I kind of get support from people for doing some of this work that I do.
Indeed.
And I could go on, but
Yes.
there's the bulk of it.
Totally. Oh, and one thing which you haven't mentioned, which I was very much drawn to, is your I guess more of the former life as an educator.
Yeah. So I actually am professionally trained and did most of my professional work as a teacher for 14 years. And so I have a master's in teaching from a prestigious university program, as well as a board certification in teaching, which is sort of like the higher level up that you get after you've been teaching for a while. And so I have these high accolades, and yet I left public teaching and private teaching behind to do this sort of teaching, which I find to be just an extension and outgrowth of that. Honestly, I feel like that was what I needed to do to sort of start my path, and then it led naturally into what I do now. So really interesting how the two actually feel almost like one to me. I feel like I've always been doing this even though it was a wildly different life when I was teaching in public and private schools.
Most definitely. And as you say, it's that sort of transferal of skills into a totally new realm, and not necessarily in an formal education setting of sorts, but still utilizing those skills, still imparting that knowledge, still, as I like to try and do, inciting thoughts, because it seems like in the age we're in now, you don't have your own thoughts anymore. Your thoughts are prescribed to you these days.
Yeah, and it's terrifying for people to even consider what that might mean. It's actually mind-blowing to me, and I think this is one of the maybe differences between where a lot of people have been at and where I feel like I came into this life at. Is I feel like I've always had my own thoughts, and I've always been in this sort of connection with what I feel, is my higher self, or my guides and allies, or this higher sort of level of energy and information. And I didn't question that, and I didn't know that there could be a difference for other people. Just like anybody, you don't really know that people live differently from you when you're young, right? And this was also true in that we were really, really poor, and I had no idea we were really poor until I eventually went to someone who was really, really rich, and saw their house and was like, whoa, wait, like, what is this? Right. So we do that. We have no idea that people are different from us until we kind of encounter that. And so I just kind of thought that was all very normal and didn't think it was weird at all. And I think some people thought I was a little weird because I'd sometimes know things I probably shouldn't have known or wasn't supposed to, or just understood things that maybe were supposed to be beyond me. So I kind of remember feeling that a lot throughout my life.
Being a little different than most others of sorts, a little special, should we say?
Yes. And it's kind of like, my friends who would eventually come out as gay or lesbian, and everybody, including me, would be like, well, duh. I mean, like, we all knew that, right? Like, that wasn't a surprise. I don't know who you thought that was a secret from, but definitely not us. It was kind of like that. I remember this specific conversation I had with a few of my friends who I'd grown up with from a very young age. We lived in a small town, so everyone knows each other from birth to death. And, we were having lunch, and I was saying something about like, I really feel actually like I'm like supposed to, and this was like really hard for me to admit and say out loud, right? But I really feel like I'm supposed to, like, I don't know, like maybe spiritually like guide people or heal them or something. And I was like shaking, and these are like my best friends, like I could trust them with anything, but I was like so scared to say this out loud. And they both looked at me with that exact same like, duh, what, you didn't know that? Like, we knew that. And I was just shocked. I was like, how did you know? And they're like, you've always been like this.
Yes.
Not surprising at all.
It's having those external confirmation of sorts, and those external eyes seeing, and you're just doing it. You're just in the motion. You're just in the flow state, just doing it. And it doesn't seem to you that it's apparent to everybody else. But, inquiring minds and eyes, especially with a lot of exposure, they're going to pick that up. You're really caring, you're really giving. Of course, that sounds perfect.
Yes. Yeah. And they'd be like, well, the weirdest things happen to you. And it's very clearly like otherworldly or paranormal or whatever. It doesn't happen to us. It doesn't happen to other people.
What
so
age?
What's going on?
Yeah. What age was you at? Was it a teenage, I take it, or?
This conversation was when we were in our early, like probably we had just turned like 21 or something, right? Like it was kind of late, right? But I'd had so many paranormal and profound experiences and interactions, and I don't know why it wasn't just very obvious to you. I don't think that it wasn't obvious to me. I think it was that it's actually terrifying to step into claiming that kind of power, right? Like,
yes.
It's not something that I felt very comfortable with proclaiming to other people, and especially not myself. And part of this was my own unhealed trauma, right? Which said to me that I wasn't really worth, like, why would you think you're so special or whatever, right? Like,
yes. I mean, well, let's rewind. Let's jump into the DeLorean. Let's kick Marty and Doc out, and let's rewind time. What part of the States did you call home? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so in northwestern Washington state, way over on the Pacific side, and currently living in Colorado, but that's only been for a handful of years. So most of my life was spent centered around that region.
As soon as I hear that, I just picture, and you're saying a small town, I'm just picturing lots of woods and forests and stuff. Am I correct in that vision?
Absolutely. Yep.
So you had access to so much nature and all that. How was it, what was that like sort of growing up? As you say, I mean, outside of the rich versus poor, dichotomy, just being sort of there in with nature and stuff. What was that like?
That's kind of all there was. I mean, literally, that's all we did was nature. So I would, even when I was, 5 and 6 and 7, we would ride our bikes down to the beach and just hang out on the beach and the sand and, woods and bluffs and all kinds of fun stuff. And we went to lakes and swam in them frequently. There was forest everywhere. Even when I got older and we were teenagers, and you would think you kind of like, too cool for that, or whatever, we would have our parties in the woods because that was the only safe place away from the adults.
The adults, yes.
Yeah, so we were always in nature. It was just there. I just took it for granted. Eventually, when I had to go live in cities to, get degrees and do other things, I hated it. I was like, what is this garbage?
Now, did you notice, because some people are quite sort of sensitive, especially growing up in a more sort of rural background, and they come to a city, they can feel the electromagnet, that intense sort of humming. Sometimes people can be nauseous and all that kind of stuff. Did you experience anything like that?
I definitely was overwhelmed by it and couldn't understand how other people just didn't even care. It was just overwhelming for me, and constant noise pollution, constant light pollution, constant like other people nearby pollution, just very overwhelming. So in a way, really good training, right? To be able to really protect my energy bubble and separate out from what isn't me, and find also that way to get still in touch with nature even when you're in the midst of a city, and take time to go out and reconnect with that and not let the city be everything all day every day.
Totally. And it could be as simple as just going to the park, taking your shoes off and your socks, and just grounding oneself in the grass and the soil. There's nothing better than doing that.
Yes. Maybe as better as like laying on the ground, but yes, touching the ground is very important. I would like throw out a blanket and just lay there and be like, oh
yeah.
I wouldn't even use the blanket except like city dog pee you can't really trust it.
And how the system has us, especially within America, it's not necessarily, it is dog eat dog, but you're so focused and you're so driven. You have to work 48 hours to 50 hours a week, ridiculous amount of hours. Some people are doing 2 jobs, 3 jobs. Where's the time? So people have kind of, it would be nice to go to the park, and it would be nice to do these things, Noble and Lindsay. It'd be great to do that. I just haven't got the time. I can just about leave work, go to the local drive-through, get my dinner, and feed the family. Which, again, we got to look at the whole dichotomy of that, and the whole like drive-through to purchase food to feed your family. Surely you can carve an extra 20 minutes to rustle up something very quickly for the family.
Oh, and this is why we're so disconnected right now. There's this phenomenon where young people often sometimes don't know like what food is. I mean, they understand what there is to eat and that they're eating it and what it's called, but you ask them where it comes from and they say the store. And you say, well, where does the store get it? And they're like, the trucks. Like, okay, where do the trucks get it? The factories. All right, where the factories get it? Like, they make it. Like, how do the factories make a chicken? I don't know. And they don't have this concept that the chicken is the animal that grows out in the pasture that is fed worms and, lays eggs, and then you kill it and eat it. Like, they don't understand that. Or that the, bananas and these things like come from trees, and you have to go pull them off the tree and then like put them in the bag and put them on the truck and send them to the store. Don't have this concept. And That was not true not that long ago. Enough people had gardens or lived near farms or just
Yeah.
new farmers or something, like they had the understanding. Still, there's kids now that are so disconnected from it, they literally don't understand what we're talking about. We have to teach them this.
Yeah. And
That
how
blew my
about
mind.
how about identification of animals? Like, okay, you're eating a burger now, little Jamie. Show me. I'm going to show you three pictures of a piggy pig, a chicken, and a cow. Show me the what you're actually eating, and they'll look and they'll point to the chicken. Everything's
Yeah,
chicken. Everything's
everything's
chicken.
chicken. It all tastes like chicken. Yeah, it's really sad, and it's interesting too, because an element of this is almost like some of the stuff that we try to hide from kids, like, oh, well, we don't want them to know. I had my friends come over once and I was talking about, oh, we want to get rabbits and raise them and possibly process them and eat them. And they were like, oh, stop talking about it. The kids are here. And I'm like, is that so bad to talk about in front of kids? Like I'm not trying to judge. I'm just saying, like, I didn't even have an understanding that this might be something you'd want to hide from a child. They're like
Well,
5, 6 and older. And I
well,
was really shocked, honestly. So it's that. And, so we were trying to hide some of this. We're intentionally kind of disconnected from a lot of this. And then I feel like death comes into this too. And I feel like that's the part they were concerned about, right? Like, we don't want them to think about animals dying. And I can kind of understand that, but I grew up on a farm and animals died, and it was really hard, but it was a really good lesson as well, because
yes.
things do die in life, and that is
But
half of life is death.
yeah. And I
And so
think these wicked beings who unfortunately control this quote unquote global system have, as we're discussing, they're divorcing human beings away from nature, in essence, from
yes.
from the fundamental. I've got a homestead, I've got a house and a family, I've got some livestock, I've got some arable land, and we're going to use that and we're going to provide, I'm going to barter and sell, and that's the existence. You know, it's, oh no, everything you've got it, your life energy, your labor has to be all used up. In return, we're going to put some zeros in your bank account. We're not going to give you like tangible, like gold, silver, copper, bully, and nothing like that. We're just going to give you digital zeros, and you're going to spend those digital zeros, and we're going to, massage your ego in certain ways and provide you certain brands that you've been sort of raised as a child to always love and want, and then we're going to give you some other bits and pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're really disconnected from that, like you said, intentionally, and transformed into this very unnatural, very inverted energetic exchange that is not good for us. If you really break it down, there's 3 things they are disconnecting us from ourselves by design, very intentionally. Therefore, it's very simple, the 3 things we want to intentionally reconnect with, and that is nature, like you said, right? Then ourselves, very disconnected from ourselves, right? We don't even have time to sit and think. I hear this, I'll suggest to someone, like, here's a simple practice, do it for 5 minutes a day. And they're like, I don't have time. I'm like, 5 minutes a day. You have to make time for 5 minutes a day to connect to yourself. Like, you have to do this. This is essential. This is exactly why they're trying to keep you so caught up in anything that's happening.
Yes.
So nature, yourself, and then each other. Right. I really, really would rather have you more interested in, I don't know, Kanye West or something than your neighbor. Right. And that's why everything is able to be so broken down and controlled. Right. It wouldn't be able to be if we kept those connections to nature, to ourselves, and to each other.
I would add another element onto that, Lindsay, and I would say the other element, which is also very, very crucial, is our creator, the Most High.
Yeah.
That, apparently, it's trendy now, and it's proven science that there's no such thing as a creator. Like thousands and thousands of particles, got together and made the Big Bang, and then single cell organisms. Then we got complex life from fish to Mammals. It's just like, this makes so much sense. But again, in my opinion, as you say, those three elements plus the connection to the creator, because if we don't think that we're created and there's nothing superior to us, that means we are the be all and end all. There's no consequence. There's nothing. Do out thou will be the whole of the law, says Mr.
Yeah.
Crowley.
Yeah. It's so twisted and inverted. And you're absolutely right. And the only reason I'm a little sneaky, the only reason I don't include source or creator in that list is because all source is everything on that list. And
Yes.
my real goal is that when you go connect with yourself and when you go connect with nature and you go connect with your fellow man and woman, you just will find that source is there. And actually
Yeah.
it's been there all along. And actually it's the only thing that exists. And now you've, maybe accidentally become a person who is more connected to the spiritual side of reality who wasn't necessarily before, didn't even maybe believe in it before. Because I don't think you can stop it from happening when you really go deeply into yourself and sit with yourself. I don't think you can stop it from happening if you really go immerse yourself in nature and just sit there and just put your feet on or just lay down on the ground and just be there. I think it just comes. I think the reminders are all in there, right?
Yes.
And that they just pop up and go, hey, you're a little piece of God. And you're like, whoa, am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
That is the most powerful thing, and I love the way you've sneakily sort of connected that up. That is an excellent way to draw people in, because, as I say, so much scandal within, let's just use the Christianity, Catholicism. There's so much scandal within that, with so much hypocrisy. But that's only a very small percentile of that, that Christian sort of doctrine. There were some wonderful people within Christianity. There's 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 interesting and a small population within Islam, within Judaism, who have these interesting and strange ideas. But that's not the whole set of people. The three Abrahamic faiths. Some people may disagree, and the way it's expressed may be quite different, but there's one source. When we go outside of these three Abrahamic faiths, then again, generally it's not a source. There's multiple sources that you can potentially sort of liaise with. But we just need to be, I think, as a society and just as people, let's not just tar everybody with brushes and stuff. That would be ridiculous to do. We have to take everybody on the merits as we see them. We can point out sort of trends within certain communities or ethnicities, quote unquote, or nations. But the tarring of these brushes across the board is just so silly, and it's done for a purpose, so we can keep in these little boxes, so we can't express ourselves, whether we like it or not, whether we like some of the verbiage or not. But the ability to express, to love, to hate, because it's the without hate, how can there be love? Without the love, how can there be no hate? This isn't a total utopia. We have to have this yin and yang. It's unfortunate, and it would be nice to live where there's just a positive force always in prevalence, but darkness, quote unquote, is going to be there.
Yeah, it's going to be part of it for sure. I think we've chosen that for many reasons, and I know that's also a maybe unpopular thing to say and to know, but it seems very apparent to me that it's true. So I think at some point we have to deal with it, just like we have to deal with death and some of the other stuff that are just sort of facts of this system that we're in, that we've chosen to be a part of. And you're right, painting a whole group any certain way is ridiculous, and we kind of all know that, and yet a lot of people are invited to do it anyway. Especially I notice more and more over the past handfuls of years that Christianity seems really targeted. Again, at least where I'm at in the America that I know today, it's like encouraged to bash Christianity, where if you bash Judaism, like like we seem to see Kanye West
Yeah.
possibly doing recently, or if you bash Islam, like we seem to see a lot of people doing in recent times as well, you get instantly called out, you get, shamed or shunned or attacked or whatever, right? There's some sort of consequence to it. Like even if you are a very important, powerful person, right? But if you bash Christianity, they're only people who are going to cry out against you are strong and somewhat perhaps fundamentalist Christians, which isn't a lot of people.
Exactly, it's in scales. And I'm glad you brought this point up because we have to look at what's going on. Now, as you say, Christianity is right at the bottom of that totem pole. Right at the bottom. Islam is second on that totem pole. I mean, obviously, post 9/11, Islam was right at the top.
Yeah.
It slid back down, and Judaism, because in essence, that's what's always been the fight. It's been Judaism, Islam, Judaism, Islam. So we all know if we make a comment about a set of people, we're labeled anti-Semitic. Now, I'm pretty sure most of my listeners, I'm pretty sure a lot of your listeners will know that Semitic people aren't exclusive to people who practice Judaism. So, and then going back to the lowest on the totem pole, Christianity, the main figure of Christianity is Yeshua HaMashiach, as the world calls Jesus. And I'm sure when I read the Bible, he's from the line of Judah and he's a Jew, isn't he? Based upon being from the line of Judah. So that would make him one of the greatest Jews to walk the face of this earth. But no one calls out these comedians or these hateful people who say these disgusting things about Jesus, Yeshua. They're not anti-Semites, strangely enough. It's weird.
Very good point. It is weird. It's all confused. And there's also the whole history of the ethnic, who is considered ethnic Jews and why and from where they are and what color they might be. And it's such a confused history and perhaps intentionally so, to hide who knows what. So that gets really hard too. So when people are talking about Jewish people, I think most of the time they don't even know for sure who they're talking about because it's so confused in the ways that you're describing.
Totally. And then we know that Israel, biblically, we're going biblically now, as we always should. Israel has 12 tribes. And, they're supposed to have been, turned away from the Most High and started worshipping idols and wanting kings and stuff. So their punishment was to be put on slave ships and to be scattered all across the world and to be bondmen and women and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking historically. Who did that happen to?
Sent on ships, yeah.
So it's very confusing. And, since we're talking about it and we're talking about Kanye West, who goes by the name of Ye now, Y-E, it's very interesting. I think it is a huge marketing ploy. A huge marketing ploy. I mean, he went on Alex Jones. This is the one that tipped the scale for me. That Alex Jones thing was, it was a show, should we say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely a performance.
A major performance. And then the Balenciago, coincidentally, we've got all this stuff about, Balenciago and the sadomasochism and the children. And then he's obviously got big ties with them and links. And it's like, if you start to just rub not even scratch the surface, rub at the surface, or even just flick to another page, and you think, oh, well, that's a bit contradictory, isn't it?
Very interesting. Someone pointed out he was wearing Adidas gloves the whole time too, which Adidas has got these ties with the Balenciaga and the pedo stuff as well. So like it is very interesting for someone who claims to be, professing, love for Jesus and whatnot. Who
Yeah,
knows? And I always hope for any of these people, I hope they
indeed.
do have a connection with source. I hope they do have, whatever they need to make their souls be light again and release whatever darkness of this world may have accumulated around them. And I'm
Yeah.
just never sure because he is such a performer and perhaps so controlled as well. I don't even know how much he really has free choice.
Indeed. I mean, they medicated the hell out of him and stuff. So, you never know what we know about Project Monarch, Mockingbird, MK Ultra, a Project Artichoke, which if people are not too sure about that one, they can have a look into it. I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. West, aka Ye, aka Yeezus, at one point he was professing himself to be, if he doesn't indeed have multiple personalities that have been compartmentalized by certain professionals, quote unquote, because it just doesn't it's not normal. And then if we look at it, if this was all true. How has he got a platform to go onto all of these? They would have deplatformed him, and that was it. He'd probably be in a coffin or something. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we see that they can easily seemingly take out anyone they want, honestly. So why not him if he were actually exposing, the Pasternak handler character and he had all these, what was his name? Harley, maybe Pasternak, his handler who had
Yes,
the mind control background, honestly. And
exactly,
I would just think if you were going to expose someone that high up as a handler and show who else they would be handling, because we can see who he personal trains,
exactly.
that something would happen to you as a repercussion, and nothing has seemed to happen. And people might not agree with that, right? They're like, oh, he got his, I don't know, Cash App or something taken away, and his Apple Pay, and his bank dropped him, and this and that, and yet he's still alive.
Yeah.
He still seemingly has access to his kids and, like you said, these various networks and these various platforms. And he does still have all his money. But most importantly, again, he has his life. He has his tongue still in
Yes.
his mouth and he can still talk. So yeah, I
Yes.
just wonder. And again, maybe he found a way to get free, and maybe this really is his real thoughts, and maybe he's trying to shed light on some of these things and
Yeah.
draw attention to it. And what do I know? Maybe
Cup
maybe
half
not.
full, cup half full, as you say, because my cup is always half full. I
Yeah.
would like to, I would trust, I'm never going to hope, but I'm going to trust that indeed his intentions are pure. Maybe he's just eccentric with it and he's just been a bit extra, as we say. Um, but based upon history, based upon what we know, when you put a cake in the oven and it's supposed to be out in 30 minutes and you come back an hour and a half later, it's going to smell a bit differently, isn't it? So if it doesn't smell right and it doesn't look right, then generally,
Yeah, it's not a bad it's not a bad series of assumptions to hold, as long as we know that they are assumptions.
yes. I mean, only time will tell. Only time will tell. But as we know, it's clear that the media plays certain tactics, and the tactics is to keep the lemmings, keep the sheeple, keep the NPCs occupied.
Occupied, fighting over definitions, fighting over, this is a swastika, no, it's not a swastika, it's a Raelian symbol, that's not actually real, this is real, this person is bad, that one's good. Yeah.
Mm,
Endless
it
distraction.
is. And then before
uh
that, we had Mr. Jones, and we still got Mr. Jones, who I will thank. I will still thank, even though I think he's very questionable as a character now, for the work he has done historically post 9/11. Outside of obviously taking over that 9/11 movement, we won't get into that, but he's done some excellent work. He still drops some information from time to time, but this guy, this is all theater. This is
yeah.
trillions, trillions, multiple trials and stuff. And he's begging on his band.tv every minute. Get these InfoWars. Go there. We got the best products. We're doing a blowout sale. Free shipping over $50. It's it's it's
Yeah.
deflating.
Yeah, as I'm the same, I honor that there was a time where he was helpful for me, and I'm sure he's helpful for many people still, because everyone's at a different place in their, awakening and where they're at with learning about the world. And so there's a lot of what he has to offer can be helpful at different stages. But yeah, there's then the traps as well, right? If you keep stuck in that, if you keep stuck in his level of information and
Yeah.
energy, then you're stuck in that dichotomy, right? Where you're raging against it and you're ripping your shirt off and
Yeah.
screaming and like not quite the most helpful way to behave, but that's what you need to do for a minute. Maybe take some time and do that, I guess.
Lindsey, you think this is a joke? 1776 will come again.
Well, this is what I was just writing about the other day on my Substack, was this black-pilled ideology, which I feel like he's kind of perhaps sort of represents the black pill. And you're familiar with the black pill idea, right?
Yes. Please
Yeah.
elaborate for the listeners. Please elaborate for the listeners.
So the red pill is the wake up from the matrix and realize things aren't what they seem. And that can be as simple as just seeing that, like, wait, the banking system isn't what it's supposed to be, or my government might not be actually elected. They might fake elections or whatever. And, the media might be lying to me, and those sort of base level sorts of things. And the black pill is when you keep going down any of those rabbit holes to the point where you find things like Balenciaga or, Pizzagate, or, just how worldwide and expansive the sort of control mechanisms seem to be. And, the really deep, dark stuff. And then you get to the black pill is really the point where you are absolutely sure that literally everything is controlled, and that there is no hope to get out of it, because they've thought of everything and they've got a trap for that, right? So you look at everything with doubt, everything with scorn. You look at everyone who's waking up with this, like, oh, you just wait and see, you'll get black pill eventually. Like, you don't even know yet. That's the black pill. I feel like Alex Jones is kind of black pill centered, right? Where he's like, they're all this, it's all hopeful, it's all bad, and like, everybody freak out and be really angry. And the black pill is a very negative place to be. And,
yes.
It's very hopeless, it's very dark, and I feel like it is a developmental stage of awakening.
Oh yes.
Right?
I was just going to say the same thing. At one point, I mean, I arose in 2002 post 9/11, as many people did. That was for many people I speak to and my sort of age, that was the tipping point. So I think it got to maybe 2000, pre-2012, when, the shift and the energies and all that stuff, the Mayan end calendar, long count calendar and all that stuff. I got to maybe 2009, 10, and I was black-pilled. I was like, forget it. Like, I'll wait until 2012 comes and, we'll see if anything changes. But like, this is just crazy. All the research I'm doing, the pedophilia links and all of this, the modeling agencies, everywhere I'm turning, it brings you straight back to a few group of people and a few weird stuff that they're into. And it's like, this all can't be just coincidence. Why are all these people linked? Like, and then you get a bit past that. So, well, I don't know how I got past it. I think I took a break. That's what I did. I took a break for a bit. And then I think, here we go. I think I remember what it was. I took a break, and then I thought, I'm going to start my research again back in religion, and I'm going to start with the Bible. So then
this is the white pill that comes after. If you go through the black pill, you'll get to the white pill, and it's always some sort of spirituality pulls you back into like, no, this isn't hopeless. Despite that, this is part of the black pill hopelessness, is you kind of also see that it goes back maybe thousands or more years, and you're like, wait a second, how long have we been doing this? Like, but you go through it, you find the white pill, and you go, oh, the human spirit's still alive, though. Nature's still alive. Source, God, energy, it's all still here, actually. And I'm still connected to it. Nothing is lost. Nothing is hopeless. And this is the white pill.
Indeed. And then you start to try and edge closer and closer as much as possible to source, as much as possible. And at the same time, looking at self, developing self, loving
Yep.
self, and in turn, once you're doing that and you're getting closer to source, that's that light and that energetic energy starts to radiate, and you start to love more people outside your closer circle, and in these bands of circles who you maybe were just associates with. It's no, I want to help you some more. Like, I want to give you some of this love and this energy and this good intent.
Yeah.
Fits. But unfortunately, there's only so many of these rings that you can go to, because not everyone is willing or at that stage of their own spiritual, physical, personal development where that information is receptive. It'll be like, oh, that's fine. I like the energy. It's nice for 5 minutes, but I want to dwell in darkness.
Yes. I want to go back to my gloomy cave. Yeah, and that's okay. Actually, that's, I think, our role as white pillers. Some people now say rainbow pill is the stage after white pill, which I think actually is what we're getting at, which is that you realize not everyone can take the light so heavily, but you can go to any color on the spectrum and sit with them, right?
Yes.
And like give space to them, and whatever it is they do need. Maybe they just need to learn where beef comes from, and that's it. And that's enough, right? You can't get them all the way up to the white pill, but you can help them wherever they're at. And I think that's like the rainbow pill essence, is that you can dive into any color, no matter where someone is, and connect with them there. And I actually think that's like the most extremely helpful place that anyone can get to. Like I'm well enough in myself. I don't need to dwell on me anymore. I want to help other people, and therefore I need to be able to connect with them wherever they're at. Not saying I'm always perfect at that. Sometimes I'm definitely in judgment of some people.
Yes.
But the more we can get through that, the more we can connect with more people wherever they're at, the more we're going to get the whole world out of the delusion and the NPC and the terror and the disconnection that we're sort of in the Kali Yuga here.
Totally, and out of the existence and back to living. I don't think people, especially post this zombie apocalypse, people don't know what living is anymore. I still see people walking outdoors with masks on them, face nappies on. It's like, what are you doing?
It's terrifying. It's terrifying, because you just think, like, what is the mindset that's going on that causes you to continue to mask yourself or wear gloves in order to go out in the world? And I have this friend that from the very beginning, she was like, this is the one question you have to ask people if you get to ask them anything. When are you going to take it off?
Yeah.
How will you know? When is the moment that it becomes safe again to live? Right? And the question will definitely disrupt whatever's going on, because they've never considered it. It's not in their mind, right? They're just in the fear. They're just in this moment of fear, and they can't get out of this moment of fear. And if they were to honestly try to answer that question, they'd have to admit there was never an appropriate time to take it off, which means there was never an appropriate time to put it on.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There is no definitive delineating, like, this is the difference between on and off. It just doesn't exist. All of it was fantasy. And that is really hard to admit, though. But at least maybe you can like get that seed in there. Like, when are you going to take it off?
Yeah, it's a mixture of cognitive dissonance and Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. Yep. It's
They've
so
been
sad.
It's
just like the sort of if you get into some fundamentalist religious ideologies and they're scared of everything, right? There's a lot of fear sometimes in those.
Yes.
And so especially in some of like the Christian, again, as much as I don't think we should bash Christianity, I also have some experience in it. And I think a lot of people can relate to this, where it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go do some yoga. Oh, you can't wear yoga pants. Like, what? Like, oh yeah, that's Satan. You're like, what? How is it Satan? It's just pants. I'm just doing stretching, And they're like, no, that's Satan. See, it's just Satan that wants you to think that it's just pants and stretching. It's like, I mean, at some point you can't just have everything be Satan, right? And it's the same with this delusion.
That is
like,
extreme.
No matter...
That is extreme. I understand there isn't like the Eastern philosophies and the yoga and the breathing techniques and all that. There are a lot of people who say we shouldn't, if you're a Christian, if you believe in, you shouldn't necessarily do any of that kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with stretching, but this yoga stuff, hot yoga and all, and we shouldn't necessarily partake in that. So I understand that, but pants,
Yeah, yoga
no.
pants. Or, there's even things like you can't believe in dinosaurs, and I don't even know if I do, right? But I'm not going to believe in them or not believe in them because I think that Satan put bones there to confuse us.
Okay, well,
I
let's
think there's
touch on
another one, right?
that. That is a weirdo one because if we read the Bible, he only left you basic instructions before leaving Earth. It talks about huge lizards and and with the modern English language and just with language in itself, things evolve, unfortunately, and things change. So it wasn't until the early 19th century, I think 1930 odd, or maybe 1914, did the term dinosaurus was invented. Before they were
Interesting.
called terrible lizards and mammoths and whatever. So, in my opinion, the Bible indeed confirms and shows that yes, there are, but they just call them different things. Dragons, for instance, mythical creatures.
Ah,
Oh, that's real.
yeah, I love that. Yeah, there's people who think, because of the possible age of the earth, that these bones were put there to make us think the earth is much older so that we don't believe in creation. And I'm like, I don't know. If God is God, God could be
Yeah.
like lizard creatures, then be like, actually humans. Like, I don't know that it would have to take 10 billion years for this to happen. Like, that's just an idea we have, right? There's no proof.
Exactly. And we then have to put faith in science with this carbon dating, which has been proven to be faulty. Hence, we've
Yes.
got carbon 19, carbon 15 dating, carbon this, and like the dating elements, I don't trust. I put trust in man to a point, but for a man to pick up bones and talk about how old they are and saying how old the pyramids, the Great Pyramids of Giza is, and the Sphinx, get out of here, man. Silly.
Yeah. Even when we're doing like the layers, I know they're saying like, oh, but when it's in a geological layer and that geological layer is this old because of I've even heard arguments, that we don't really understand what sorts of perhaps like cosmic or massive impacts or energy
Yeah.
shifts happened in the universe that would have like liquefied rock even or something. Like there's just things we wouldn't understand. So we would think, oh, this would have taken this long to form, but
Yes.
maybe it happened in an instant. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm with you. I really don't trust our I like it. I like that we think and ask questions and try to measure and try to figure things out. We were given logic for a reason. I like to think and use
Yes.
those tools, but I wouldn't ever just assume that we know a thing, but I also wouldn't just blame anything that doesn't fit my preconceived idea of what's going on Satan, right?
Mm.
Or on COVID or on anything, right? I would just say like, I don't know, maybe it's this. I'll try to find out. I'll try to use all my senses and my connection to God, and
Yes.
and I'll try to just see what feels best to me and what seems true to me. That seems like the way to go, right? I call that
Totally.
gnosis.
Yes. Having the eyes to see and the ears to hear.
Hmm.
Um, it's it's a beautiful world that we're living in. It's also a very scary world, depending on where you are spiritually and mentally. It,
Yeah.
it, it can be very. I mean, we can go on Google and go onto your favorite newspaper or wherever you get your news source, and it's death, destruction, and terror. They've got the youth brainwashed in so many different ways. They've got the youth brainwashed who have been growing up playing very realistic computer games of murdering and killing, raping and doing all kind of illegal stuff. And we wonder why the children are going crazy. Well, not we can't call them children anymore. So let's refer to them as the Americans do, kids, baby goats. We've got baby
Yeah.
goats running around, and we call you guys and us in England now call our children kids, baby goats. Just think how
Yeah.
powerful that is. Subconsciously, your parent is calling you a baby goat, an animal, in essence.
That's so interesting because I've always really hated the term kiddos. And I didn't know why. I actually do say kids though. I say like, do I say my students and I say my kids? Yeah. when I'm talking about my students in public, so I call them my kids. And now I want to stop doing that because that's so interesting. I don't want them to be little baby Baphomets or whatever else might
No,
be hidden in that.
definitely. But
Yeah.
again, just use that principle on everything you say, and you'd be surprised. Like
Yeah.
greeting people with hello,
Mhm.
hello. Like, why would we say that? The Most High
Yeah.
created, he separated the day from the night from the day. That means there's two portions, day and night. So surely we should be just saying a good day and good night to each other.
Yeah. I like that. Or hi. Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's yeah, I like people too when they say grand rising. I'm like,
Oh,
ooh, that
yes,
is powerful.
it is. And just think how, when someone says that to you, what does that incite? It doesn't just like, it's not just a greeting, it's a greeting, obviously, but also it's like, well, like, yeah.
Grand rising. Yeah, it's an invitation.
Totally, like,
That's
yeah, I want to get on that. I was a bit down, but yeah, it is grand. Yeah, now, yes, I'm feeling good today. Yeah, how's your day been, kind of thing?
yeah, that's a little white pilling on the side, right? That's a little sneaky action to just slip
Yes.
that kind of high vibe language into people. And they don't have to know. They just can feel it and go, huh, I liked that. And then move
This
on.
is it. This is the thing. Don't be a jealous king or queen and keep your crown all bejeweled. Take some of the jewels out and pass them on to somebody else. That
Yes.
is what a righteous and good king or queen should be doing. Not
Yeah.
beholding and just grabbing all this information. And I mean, a good example would be when I first started to wake up in the early thousands, and I'd go to a lot of my circle of friends are quite old, much older than myself. So I'd go to them all excited. Oh, you guys, you never guess what? Did you know? And they'd have this kind of blank look, like, of course we knew Noble, like what you like we knew this ages ago. Oh, but what about yeah, we know about this. You're obviously having a little mini awakening now and stuff. Don't worry, we can talk about it still, but we know it all.
Yeah, it's actually that's another part of the red pill stage we didn't talk about, is that like everybody needs to know. I'm gonna tell everybody. And like
Yeah.
these are the people who are running around trying to tell everyone, right? Like, did you look in the sky? What are these chemtrails? What are they spraying
Oh
on us?
gosh,
Like,
yes.
and you're like, well, it's noble, no pun intended, to do that because you want people to see what you see and you want people to come along with you, and you feel like this has been hidden from you for so long, and why didn't
Yeah.
anyone tell you? And honestly, someone may have told you many, many times. You didn't really listen. You didn't really take it in, didn't really hear for whatever reason. It wasn't the right
Mm.
time. You can't actually force anyone to do it. So you have to soon learn running around screaming at everyone is not actually helpful at all. It
No.
doesn't do anything except make you feel like maybe you're doing something,
Definitely. You do
Yeah.
get that good feeling kind of thing, but then after a while, after about a year, after 2 years, and then you see that glazed look. You know when you get that glazed look and you think,
Like,
oh gosh,
this
oh
again.
dear,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I should stop now. I don't think I'm gonna get this person. I've been trying for 2 years. I've given them all these DVDs. I even send over the little links on WhatsApp and stuff, and did you watch it? Yeah, I watched a bit of it. And you even like you'll quiz them. Oh, well, what did you think about this part? And they'll say, and you're like, okay, you didn't watch it. You didn't. Oh dear. But
You
it's
can't
the
push people.
stages. No, not at all. Not at all. And it's part of your own development as well, to know when to turn it on and when to turn it off.
Yes. Yes. Because there are times, people are asking for it basically. And this is what I really have come to. If people aren't asking me, I'm not going to talk about it or tell them,
Mhm.
which does mean a lot of times I'm just listening to people. And it's actually funny because eventually people will get to some point where they, realize who I am or what I do or something. And they'll be like, well, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, well, what did you really want me to do? Like walk up to you the first time we met and be like, hi, I'm Lindsey. I'm a shaman. I do spiritual healing and talk to people you can't see. Like, is that going to make you feel happy? I don't think that's what would have worked, right? Like, right? Or hi, I'm Lindsey. I like communicate with beings who float around in the night sky and flash lights at me. No, now you just think I'm a crazy person. But as you're going through your thing and eventually whatever, and some of this kind of comes out, like then it's more natural and then you can accept it and then you wonder
Yes.
about it. And then your curiosity is piqued and now you're asking questions and then you can actually receive some of the stuff that before would have felt a bit too much, a little overwhelming, maybe crazy, right? You can't really break through cognitive dissonance with a hammer. Like it has to be sort of a slow drip and a
Yeah,
natural sort of like reaching out from behind like the cracks to like grab a little piece and bring it back into the little cave or
totally.
something.
Yes. And I think a good way also to do this is, and it's a roundabout way, pardon self, of doing it, but experience. Sometimes people physically have to go through something before they're like, oh my God, Lindsay was telling me about, oh my God, I should have listened to Lindsay. Okay. Lindsay, or the other way would be through experience, i.e., travel.
Yeah,
Not many Americans want to travel outside those 50 plus states. Like, come
I
on,
understand
people.
that.
Like
Yeah.
you've got Canada, which is rich in history of sorts, to a point, obviously. Latin America, the Caribbean, those are very close to where you are, 2, 3 hours, depending on where you are, mainland and stuff, continental United States. So that exposure to a different culture, well, number one, just open your eyes up and realize, maybe we're not as big and bad as we thought we were, kind of thing. And this world is so beautiful and has so many different variations to it, kind of thing. And just that little. So I've noticed being on vacation and speaking to Americans, they just seem to be in a total different world, and they're really appreciative of like the sun and just the sand, the nature, the fresh food and stuff like we don't get this stuff back home. And
Mhm.
like, but it almost seems like a few of them will take that energy and run with it when they get off the plane. But the majority will that's just the holiday vibe. That's just because I was on holiday. No, it wasn't. Because you can access other beautiful places within your 50 plus states. You've got beautiful beaches, you've got mountains, you've got woods, you know, go over to the West Coast and go to the mountains, Yosemite and all of that.
Sorry, my alarm just went. Oh yeah, so I actually am so glad that I for some reason got the travel bug and my family kind of had we didn't travel much when I was a child, but by the time I was a teenager, it was just something that was valued. I guess we talked about it, and my brother actually went and lived in Europe for a few years, so I think that really inspired me as well. And I had a friend who actually was very wealthy, and her father and mother were going to take her to a multi-country European tour and asked her if she would like to bring a friend, and she chose me. Huge
Oh,
honor. And so I would have
wow.
never been able to do this because again, we grew up very poor. And so it was a huge honor. It was a really lucky experience. And I got to see all these different countries. We did England, Scotland, Ireland, France, Italy, Switzerland. And that was just amazing for me. And it was a quick,
Wow.
rush of things. But
Hmm.
even just realizing when I was over there, oh, people do things really differently. Like
Yes.
just things are just not the same, right? Even that was
Yeah.
this, like we were talking about at the beginning, you don't realize that not everyone is exactly like you until you see what's not exactly like you. And you go, oh, that's not like me at all.
Hmm.
So that was very cool. And then also to see how old things were, because
Yes.
especially on the west coast of the United States, things are not old at all. The east coast are a little older, and even then nowhere near as old as over here. So I continued to travel my whole life, and I've lived in other countries, and I can't imagine why people wouldn't want this. And I can't imagine also people who would go to these other places, and instead of going, what does this place have to offer? What is the culture like here? What are people doing here? Let's go see and find out. Let's go be a part of it. And
Yeah.
instead of that, go, I want to have my actually like American experience here, like in a little pocket, and I don't actually want to leave it. You're like, well, then why are you here? Why did you come here if you don't want to actually
Yeah.
experience what is unique and beautiful about this place? So those two things I've never really understood, but I do, like you said, I think this is one of the most powerful things we can do to sort of get outside of ourselves and see just how big the world is and how differently things could be if we want them to be.
Totally, totally. It's a big, wide world. It really is. And unfortunately, there is a lot of Americans who are very insular. It's like, I have conversations all the time, and it's the first thing they'll say is, "Oh, what? You're from London? You're from London, right? In England?" I'm like, no, not actually. I did tell you before, but like name some other places in England, and they'll be like, Nottingham.
Stonehenge. Like, no one lives there.
Gosh, like, come on, you should know more. Like, I can tell you a lot about America. I can tell you loads of different states and this and that. But when it comes to England, apparently London is the whole of England. To some Americans, is
London is so the whole of England to most people that London is England. If you say London, you're actually talking about the whole country.
You see? You see?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny, but again, it makes it interesting to have those conversations, to see those people, and for those people then to break out of those shells through their development and their stages and actually, wow, we've actually saved up enough money, or rather than, going and living lavishly, like trying to keep up with the Joneses, we've been sensible. We've tightened the belt a bit for a couple of years. Now we can do 2 or 3 holidays a year.
Yeah.
An experience.
This is the thing too, is people have said to me, "Oh, all that traveling, you're so lucky." No, I worked really hard to make all of that happen because it was a value I had. Right. It was a choice that I specifically make. I didn't just, oh, I live in Istanbul now. Like, what a lucky strike, like this was something I worked towards and created and made happen. And anybody can do that. Anybody can do that.
Totally, totally. So as we wind this conversation down, young lady, and it's been a pleasure, thoroughly enjoyed it. 2 questions for you. Have you had fun today?
Yes, very much so. It was very much a pleasure to talk with you, and I'm glad.
Excellent, excellent. Very last one for you is, please tell us who you are, but don't tell us your name.
I am a loving creator of connection, especially for those who have forgotten that they are connected.
Short, sweet, and very quick. I've had people like, how do I answer that one?
I guess I think a lot about this.
Yes, you clearly are.
Very intentional about it.
That's it, and it's clear, and you've concisely put it across. But you know exactly, your path, and some people, and sometimes your path can deviate and change. Your purpose could totally change and path, but being on the path and knowing your path is a wonderful thing. And so many people are searching for that. What did the Most High create me on this earth to do? What should I be doing? Should I be doing what I'm doing now? Should I be free from these quote unquote shackles of working for a corporate organization? Should I do something I love and enjoy and have a career, or should I have a job just over broke?
Yeah, I love those questions, though. Those lead you to the best places. And I'll just tell you, if you're really asking yourself, like, should I be doing this? Probably the answer is no. Or else you wouldn't be asking yourself. And also when it's that purpose question, it's like such a big one for people. It's so hard for people to figure out. But I always just say, well, what do you love and value most? And those are the things you should be doing. It's actually much simpler, I think, than we make things very complicated. It doesn't mean it's easy to pull off and make happen in 3D reality, but at least now you know what your purpose is.
Totally. As a man or woman thinketh, so it shall be. Please throw out all your social medias, etc., website links, and I will make sure I put them in the description below.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'll just invite people to go to rogueways.org, and everything is there. The Rogue Ways show links are there. The different groups I've got where you can come interact socially are there. My Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, it's all there. Or you can find me at Apotropaic Soul if you want to learn how to spell that word. And that's on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also connect with me, send me a note on that rogueways.org site and reach out if you want to. And I also do, again, one-on-one spiritual work with people of various types, tarot readings, guidance sessions, healings, and all sorts of things. So if that is interesting to anyone, the ability to set that up is also there on the site. So a lot more there, but people can just discover it as they choose to.
Indeed, go down the rabbit hole, as I say, or into the maze of wonders and some surprises. Most definitely. Thank you again for your time. Make sure you go over and check all of the links out. Very interesting and very diverse content Lindsey does bring forth. So make sure you go and support, like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell another friend.
Appreciate it so much. Thank you, Noble.
You're welcome.